Hey everybody, it's Tristan Shuffles here with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel deck profile, and even if you're just here for the deck list, remember to like, comment, and subscribe because it really makes a difference for the channel. So, it's been a couple weeks now since the new Ragnarika support for plants, reptiles, and insects has released in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, so I've decided to play it in a plant list that has 60 cards. This is the list that Sunseed Jess has been using on her Twitch and has been finding a lot of success with, and she's one of the best plant players in the world, but you can have success with this deck too if you understand how it works, which is what I'm trying to get into in this video. So, we're playing 60 cards so that we can play board breakers like Dark Ruler No More and Evenly Matched, and the searchers for that in the form of Triple Tactics Thrust. Playing 60 cards also allows you to dilute the chance of drawing semi-garnets in the deck, like the Ragnarika Bloom and the Ragnarika Samurai Beetle, because you want to be adding these new cards off of the effect of Ragnarika the Evil Seed, and you want to be adding cards like Aroma Lilith Rosalina from your deck through the effect of the new Aroma Lilith Rosemary, which allows you to add an Aroma card from your deck to the hand on summon, and you'll want to add the new Aroma Blend, which, if you have higher life points than your opponent, can also fusion summon from the graveyard into the game-winning Aroma Lilith Magnolia, where once per turn, you can pay 2,000 life points and banish cards on the field equal to the number of Humid Winds, Dried Winds, and Blessed Winds you control. And we're only playing Humid Winds, but you can play that onto the field directly from deck with Aroma Blend. So again, you're really diluting the chance of drawing something like Ricochet or Humid Winds or the Ragnarika cards that I talked about earlier, so that you can focus on the mainline combo, which involves the famous Sunseed Genius Loci, which can link summon the Sun Avalon Dryas and effectively get you 4 link materials on field from there. You also counter a lot of the 60 card mill decks that you're going to see on ladder right now by playing 60 cards as well, because they don't get as much mileage or mill power out of That Grass Looks Greener. Pretty ironic that we're not playing grass in this plant list, but we move on to talk about playing 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talent and 3 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. These cards feel incredible to play alongside these board breakers, which you generally don't see in Master Duel, because you don't want to draw them going first, but you can discard those cards for the Aroma Blend that I talked about earlier and continue to play from there. In addition to the Aroma cards, we're also playing the Rika cards, which have incredible effects once Rika Con is on the field, because this card allows you to tribute one of your opponent's monsters for a lot of those effects as if it was your own, and having the power to tribute your opponent's monster helps you play around a lot of cards that avoid destruction by card effects or avoid targeting or things like that. Just tribute them off. You can even tribute them off for Rika Princess's Monster Negate. With the 60 cards, you're not always going to be drawing the 1-for-1 or the unexpected die to go into the Sunseed Genius Loci, but I think that's what makes this deck fun, is that you can't always rely on the 1-card combo of the Genius Loci into Sun Avalon Dryas. You also have to be careful, keeping in mind which Rika effects are going to plant lock you going forward. For example, Rika Glamour does not plant lock you, but Rika Petal and Rika Con do plant lock you. And if you are tributing a monster to get both adds off of Rika Glamour, you need to make sure that you have both targets in deck still. And hopefully you snowdrop the Rika Fairy to special summon Rika Queen Strenna, which you can set up to be tributed on the opponent's turn to get into Hypertron. Or if that's not working out and you can only Xyz summon a level 8 monster, you can end on Teardrop the Rika Queen, which, having that tribute effect of an opponent's monster at any time in the turn, really helps play around a lot of things like SP Little Knight and other strong cards that your opponent's going to have. Oh, the one weird thing is that I have one copy of Droplet, which whenever I see in somebody else's list, I kind of laugh at. But that's just because I don't want to craft the third Dark Ruler no more right now. And I think there are some situations where nothing feels better than playing evenly matched, and maybe your opponent has a monster negate. And then you send the evenly matched with the Droplet to make sure that they're still banishing down to one card, and their negate is negated. So you can continue to play. On that note, I think I've summarized how this deck plays pretty well, and the best way to show off how complex and rewarding it is to see it in action, so let's get into those games. First up, we have a game from the Duelist Cup versus Yubel. Here I was able to go first, draw for turn, and it's a pretty good starting hand, and it shows what the deck can do going essentially uninterrupted until later on in the combo. So we link off the Lokai for Sun Avalon Dryas, Twins out from deck, Chain Block here in case they're playing Ghost Bell, link those off into Aromatherapy Jasmine, use its effect to tribute the non-normal monster. That gets negated by effect failure, but that's okay because we can punish with the Triple Tactics Talent. And this is when I saw that they were on Yubel, and I could have taken their starter in the form of Spirit Gates, but I decided to take away the Spirit of Yubel because I didn't know how to finish the game on turn 3 if they had that in hand and could special summon it. So luckily we're able to summon the Therion monster and then link it off into Aromalilith Rosemary, and we can use Therion Disc Coliseum to get out the Therion King Regulus, which is one of the only non-playing monsters we're playing, but it is a useful Omni Negate. Then we can activate the Rika Glamour and the Rika Petal, so now we are plan locked, and that's okay, because all we need is to get that Rika Princess into the graveyard with Aroma Blend, use the Human Winds to add, then special summon off of Rosemary's effect, link those off into another copy of Aromatherapy Jasmine, which we get to add the Snowdrop the Rika Fairy from deck with, and with Snowdrop we can special summon the Ragnarika without using its discard, so that's pretty good. We banish the insect, we can't bring that back on this turn, but that's okay because we can still end on Teardrop the Rika Fairy, and we have Bloom for follow-up next turn, along with the bounce from Bengalancer, which is our Link 4 boss monster. The opponent draws for turn. They use those Spirit Gates, not surprising, but I realized that, you know, Dark Beckoning Beast was such a easy normal summon for them to go into that it was perfect tribute fodder. So now that that's tributed and out of the way, and they don't even have Nightmare Pain, so they can't deal damage with Phantom of Yubel, we can go into our turn 3, and we know they don't have anything in hand. They use Called By here on the Evil Seed, but that's okay because we can special summon it from Banished anyway, and I went for the Insect because why not? Also, I wanted to try to show off its effect as well. And then we can get the negate of the Phantom of Yubel's changing effect there so that we can continue. We can bring back the Bengalancer that we tributed earlier in the turn to make a strong board. I decided to extend and get a little greedy here because I know they don't have Nibiru in hand, and see how far this deck could go using the Sylvian Dance Peon to try to get some Xyz material from the deck, but that doesn't look like it's meant to be, so I just fusion summoned with the higher life points from the graveyard, using Aromalilith Magnolia to banish that last face down. It could have been a problem. You never know if somebody's playing Mirror Force, but that's the game. The second game was against Phantom Knight with the Adventure Engine, which you don't see so often anymore, even with Rite of Aramis here at 3. We are going first again, and so I activate the Evil Seed from hand, and unfortunately the opponent activates Maxi, which is pretty game-stopping because we don't really have enough plays without completely playing into Maxi and letting the opponent draw their whole deck, and with no hand traps in hand, I was feeling pretty nervous, but luckily it looks like they only have the adventure half of their deck here. They summon out that adventure token, add the Draco back, then use the Griffin Rider, and just go to battle. And so having that one chump blocker in the form of Evil Seed was enough. Let's draw for turn, and hopefully you can get things started with the Aroma card, but I wanted to bait out any kind of hand traps they had with the Ragnarika Bloom, and that worked out because they had the Ghost Ogre in hand, and I was able to negate the Griffin Rider with Dark Ruler, which means now I can go for the full Sun Avalon Dryas combo. Oh wait, they have not Imperm, but the Phantom Knights card. And finally I was able to summon the Aroma card from hand, and then use Jasmine to add Mudan the Rika Fairy, which will allow us to add Rika Con, and so that we can get into a better position to win the game from there, because we're not doing any damage this turn under Dark Ruler. Add 2 level 8 plant monsters. Sacrifice Mudan there. Use Petal to add Rika Princess so that we have that negate up for next turn. And use Rosemary to get the Aroma Blend once again. Play the Blend, discard the Therion because we can't summon any machines this turn, so we don't really need it. And we can still summon Snowdrop and go into Teardrop the Rika Queen. I put it in defense mode just instinctually because sometimes the opponent's playing Yubel. They're probably not in this deck, but it was safer that way because it's always going to have lower defense than attack. They add Water Enchantress, discard one of their Phantom Knights, try to special summon that Phantom Knight there, and they succeed, but I decided to sacrifice their Phantom Knight, and then they go for a Bystial, so we're going to have to negate that. And for some reason I've forgotten that they normal summoned the Water Enchantress, so I guess they do get its Grave effect here, but that's not too big of a problem because they're just ending on the Adventure token and Draco back, so they can't really do anything. And now we get Petal back at the end phase of the turn, so that's pretty good. And now we're in a position to win the game, and our opponent recognized that and scoops it up. Another solid one there. So it's time for game 3, and it's also time to grab your popcorn because this is one of the longest duels I've ever played. We are going second, the opponent is going first, and we have no hand traps, which is to be expected in 60 cards, but they've drawn pretty much everything they need with Rescue Ace, using the original Sinful Spoils alongside Airlifter, and get out the Hydrant there, link it off into Linkuriboh, bring out the SP Little Knight to play around Infinite Impermanence when they try to activate their Turbulence on field here, but we don't have Infinite Impermanence. They don't know that though, and that's okay. And they have Reinforce, which is a little interesting, but will come up later. Draw for turn. And Triple Tactics Thrust is going to be pretty useful here because we can get the card from our deck that we need to absolutely decimate Rescue Ace, which is that Evenly Matched. But I'm trying to bait out monster effects in the main phase, so the Triple Tactics Talent is live too. And so I add the Mudan. I think we're trying to bait something out with the SP Little Knight, but now they don't have that to protect their monsters from Evenly Matched, so that's good. And they use Reinforce, but that doesn't super matter. Maybe they were trying to just get it into the graveyard because you're banishing via game mechanic and it's not a card effect. One of those interesting ruling things about Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway, use Therion Lily Borea, add the field spell, sacrifice the Lily Borea after drawing 2 off the Triple Tactics card. And now we have the Evil Seed, so I'm trying to do that combo from there. Banish the Samurai Beetle, activate the Ragnarok Bloom, bring it back. Add Therion King Regulus to my hand. This was a slight misplay. I should have summoned it before bringing out the Ragnarok Link monster because that locks you into plants, insects, and reptiles. Anyway, we still have room on Blend, so that's going to be okay. Use Humid Winds. You've seen this combo a couple times now, but here it is again to get the Jasmine and the additional add here. Finally, Snowdrop the Rika Fairy. Maybe it was a little greedy to tribute my Link 3 off of the Lonefire Blossom here, but I felt okay about it. Bring back the Sunseed Genius Loci, and use Jasmine's other effect, which we haven't used yet this turn, to get Rika Petal out, because I needed a way to have a Rika monster on field just in case they did something to Teardrop, and end on Bengal Lancer again, and set the Rika Sheet. So we have a lot of options for the next turn. And when SP Little Knight comes back here, it's the perfect target to be tributed by Teardrop the Rika Queen. So bye-bye SP. And the opponent uses the OSS effect from the graveyard to add Jet Synchron. Don't see that every day. Then they add it back to the deck and get that extra draw and launch that Call by the Grave right away. So having a Rika Princess around is not going to be an option for at least 2 turns. That's okay though. At least I get another add off of gaining life points there. and I sent the Jet Synchron back to hand, and it ended up being banished. And then they go for the Preventer to bring back their Hydrant, and I just needed to get, any Rescue Ace monster off their field, prevent destruction with the Sun Avalon Sowing. They activate the field spell, they activate Emergency from the graveyard so that they have the trap card set up for next turn, and they draw from the deck, and it's a problem because it's that Airlifter. So I was panicking a little and just went for the life point gain effect to make sure I didn't die on this turn. Luckily here I'm able to prevent the destruction of Hydrant by battle with the Therion Disc Coliseum by sending a Therion from deck, and then when it's destroyed by the second battle I'm able to add that Lily Borea back to hand for the next turn. They go for Heat of the Fire Charmer. I definitely have a fire in the graveyard. There's the Lone Fire Blossom. They go for the Princess. Use Promethean Princess effect, revive the Hydrant, add the Turbulence with the Hydrant. Oh no, they're going to be able to set up everything again. They have Alert set, Emergency set, and Reinforce set. And then they pass there. So all I have to do is make sure that Princess doesn't go to the graveyard. And, they have Maxi. This is going to be complicated. Okay, so we bounce the Princess back into the extra deck, and then they get the Destruction effect from Turbulence. These Rescue Ace cards sure have a lot of effects. Then they use Alert to add Impulse. So if I activate a monster effect, they're going to use Impulse to summon. And they probably should have gone for Preventer here, but we can avoid the Fire Attacker draws by sending our Rika Princess to the graveyard instead of adding it to hand, so that felt pretty cool. And then they gain some defense points there, making sure that we can't clear Turbulence. But because a monster's been destroyed by battle, this Therion Disc Coliseum is actually coming in handy. Usually it's just a Searcher, but it's allowing us to add back Lily Borea every turn, and we want to make sure to get that Jasmine add off of gaining some more life points. I was running very low on time here, so I just passed from there. The opponent uses Rescue, just gain the life points to make sure that that doesn't mess with the timer anymore. Add another Lily Borea. Basically every plant from the deck has been added to the hand by now. Had to negate their Impulse there to make sure that didn't resolve with the King Regulus. Discard the Lily Borea because I want to make sure I have the monster with the highest attack stat on the field. They banish that second Emergency and set the trap card once again. They have Impulse back on field here, and they use Preventer's effect to get Airlifter, and oh no, they've gone into Underworld Goddess. They really needed a way to clear Regulus for next turn, I guess. Anyway, they add 4 back to the deck again and draw 1. Original Sinful Spoils here to summon their second Hydrant from the deck, but they got rid of their field spell, which is a big mistake. We can bring back Rika Petal. And yes, we drew Rika Con. Finally, we can make some plays. That effect was mandatory of the Jasmine there. I knew it was negated. And then I can set Rika Glamour off of Con. And I use Bengal Answer to bait out the Underworld Goddess, and I thought I could negate it with Rika Princess, but of course it's unaffected by effects that don't target it in particular. That's okay because we can keep playing, and running out of time again here, so I went for Magnolia. Might as well banish anything that I can, and they negate that, but that's okay because we still have the highest attack stats, and that gets destroyed, but we can't do anything else because Magnolia can't attack. They draw for turn, gain some life points, gain some attack points. They banish OSS from the graveyard for a second time. This game has gone on for so long. They have Poplar. I know I should have negated the Poplar effect on field, but they didn't have anything to add, so it was for the best because that used up their normal summon, so I knew they didn't have any gas left in the tank after this. They got rid of their Underworld Goddess, which I think was truly a mistake here, but I know they wanted to go back into Princess. They revive a Fire Monster with a Princess. They link it out for Raging Phoenix. Oh no, they're doing the Zealantis line in main phase 2, but they don't have a Fire Monster, so it doesn't matter at all. Anyway, we get Rika Petal backing and are able to continue with our turn here. And there's that other Rika Princess. I was hoping to be able to add that off of the set Rika Glamour, but that's okay because Bengal Answer can come back safely now without the Underworld Goddess. Bring out the Rika Queen Strenna here. Banish their one last monster, and that is more than 8,000 points of damage, finally ending this nightmarish game against Rescue Ace. But it felt damn good to win. So here is the deck list one more time, and I thought that this deck was incredibly fun to play for the first stage of the Duelist Cup, but it is also strong enough that it could succeed in the second stage of the Duelist Cup, which is much more competitive. This can go toe-to-toe with the best decks in the game right now, as long as you learn from playing it over and over when you are plant locked, so that you can play each of your hands to their full potential. That'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.